Frak, this podcast, come and listen to us talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's a show that we're talking about. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to the Frak, this podcast. I am your exsanguinated host, Jesse Gender, and I'm joined as always by...
God damn it.
Why, now you have to write exsanguinated?
Yes. I'm just going to write it fucking phonetically. I'll fix it later. Hi, it's Vera.
I'm sorry. I'm watching the X-Files for technically the second/first time, depending on how you want to view it. And that word was like a big word in one of the episodes. That was like a notable word because like they were comparing like how cows like get abducted and exsanguinated to like a guy getting exsanguinated because it's all about aliens or whatever. So
Basically it was the word on your word a day calendar.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Been loving the X-Files though, by the way. So technically I say the first/second time in that.
Yes, I was going to ask that.
So
I understand like being iffy about say a second or third, like maybe if one viewing was you're only half paying attention, but like first/second is a little bit more questionable. What's going on here?
Well, what happened was I actually have watched the first season of the X-Files before because after my vaginoplasty way back in 2014, when I was healing from it, I watched a bunch of the X-Files then. But by the time I finished the first season, I had to go back to working at Starbucks. So I was just busy and tired all the time and just didn't finish watching the X-Files. And so I've been meaning to go back and watch it, but I've always been in this thing of I didn't want to necessarily rewatch the first season because I kind of remembered it. And so I didn't remember it enough so that if I started at season 2, I felt like I'd be lost, but I didn't want to rewatch season 1. So I now have gotten to a place where I don't really remember season 1 all that well. So I'm now in the middle of season 1 and I'm being like, yeah, I don't really remember this episode. So I can kind of rewatch it and not feel like I'm just reviewing a thing that I've already seen. So.
And are you confirming the fact that the continuity between episodes is so fucking loose?
Oh,
you could have started with season 2 and you would not have been lost at all?
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, but here we are back at this fucking point again.
But I do appreciate watching how a show evolves, because it was even during a thing with Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I love Deep Space Nine; it's my favorite Star Trek show. But I realized that I had never watched it. I'd pretty much seen every episode, but I had never watched it front to back until the pandemic. Because I caught it as a kid, out of all the episodes out of order. So, I generally knew stuff. But then I watched it, season 1 all the way to the end during the pandemic for the first time. And I'm like, oh, that happens before this. This happens before that. Deep Space Nine has a little bit more continuity, but yeah. At least it's... But it's oh, I didn't realize how this evolved over time, which is something I'd like to see, especially if I probably will end up talking about the X-Files in a video essay at some point, you know what I mean? So it's kind of nice to, remember what the trajectory was. So, yeah.
I mean, rewatching stuff can do that to you. I was laid out with a migraine earlier today, and I had the 3rd season of She-Ra on the background, and I'm like, oh, I actually kind of want to do an essay about how fucking messy all the villains on this show are, and that's part of why they're amazing.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
She-Ra is fantastic.
For folks, if you have not rewatched She-Ra and the Princesses of Power lately, up until the last season, every major recurring villain is a hot mess. You know how your standard long-running villain in a TV show is, the calm, calculating, in control? Not a fucking one of them. They are all disasters, and it's great.
Well, that I do absolutely agree. I do love She-Ra. But speaking of hot messes, it is time to read our comment section on on the episode Pegasus from for listeners a couple weeks ago. For us just last week. First comment I wanted to read is from Style for Alley. They said, I appreciate Vera calling out the Abu Ghraib of it all. First-time viewers need to keep in mind that at the time, media generally tended to treat torture as at worst, a necessary evil, which was justified because it was useful. Actually, they say here, in many cases, torture was outright portrayed as good because our enemies are evil. 24. The TV show 24. Indeed, this was basically the official stance of the Bush administration. If you spoke up against torture, then you were basically a terrorist sympathizer, if not a terrorist yourself. Here, we're shown a character who we have every reason to hate, even though we kind of love Six because Tricia Helfer is awesome. And this show rightly portrays that torture is ugly, brutal, and unjustifiable, and is driven by the sadism of the torturer, not because its utility or any higher purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's a very well stated comment. And it is worth noting that that is, especially at the time, was going against the grain, because very few pieces of mainstream media would dare to criticize something like that. They would either justify it or they would ignore it as a topic. Avoid it like the goddamn plague.
I know The West Wing did a bunch of like torture is all right from a Democrat perspective. So
so much of The West Wing,
I literally can't watch it. I tried watching once. I'm like, nah, I can't do this.
I think I saw the first 3 seasons during the first Trump administration, and while I had some enjoyment because the actors are all incredibly charismatic and a lot of the dialogue is really snappy, which I enjoy, and Aaron Sorkin's good for that. At the same time, especially now, I couldn't go back and finish it just because the naivete of the whole show, of its whole vibe, and even beyond the fact that it justifies stuff like the war on terror, which, again, being there at the time, most liberal people were justifying it to some degree. But even setting that aside, it's just it is set in this naive world where if you dunk on the right wing hard enough, somehow that means you win. And I'm like, that's just not fucking reality.
Yeah.
And it is so far from reality that it depresses me.
Yes, I couldn't watch it because it is just so that naivete, rah rah America good, and I'm so far beyond rah rah America system can work, and there's this
rah rah America good. The
system can work.
Free marketplace of ideas is good. Liberals will win in the free marketplace of ideas. No, okay, you're wrong. I understand why you thought this shit at the time, but you're wrong all the way down.
Yes. Skip Intro has a really good video series on the West Wing that just went into how it was used to justify the war on terror from a liberal side versus a conservative side.
Yeah.
So it was a very good
Here's what I would say. Anyone who has an itch for that kind of snappiness and that kind of setting, watch The American President, which was the movie that Aaron Sorkin wrote before The West Wing, and it kind of almost served as a film-length pilot in some ways, at least in terms of some aspects.
Is that the romantic comedy one where it's
It's not really a comedy. It's I believe, if I remember correctly, it's Michael Douglas.
Yeah, I did watch this. Yeah, it is a romantic comedy because he falls in love with that girl.
It's labeled as a romantic comedy. I wouldn't call it that. It is a romance, but because the focus is on the intercharacter relationships, the straightforward politics of it are way less front and center. And so you get it's a film where you can get more of the feel of what felt good about watching The West Wing without getting bogged quite down by so much of the stuff that makes it kind of insufferable.
It's frustrating because the thing is, I do like Sorkin's style. I do not like his substance. And that's pretty much for most of his things. Not all of it. There's some stuff I can get into. Molly's Game, I know people have problems. I enjoyed Molly's Game.
I never saw that. Honestly,
it's fun.
I think A Few Good Men might still be the best thing he's ever written.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm sad that he's going to be, The Social Network also has its problem as well. But we'll see how that Social Network 2 is going to go. Anyways.
Unless it is literally a horror movie, I don't understand what the goddamn point is.
Yeah, I don't either.
you're not going to be telling us the behind the scenes. Like, we are living in the wasteland created by what has happened since. Like, what the fuck do you think you're going to show us?
Yeah.
That we aren't already suffering through.
Yeah.
Of course, I've also fallen off Fincher pretty well by now. I don't think he's a bad director, but like his instincts and what attracts him to stories, I'm like, nah, dude, I'll move on.
Yeah.
You do your thing. I'll go somewhere else.
Well, jumping into another comment, we have Lizard King Slowinski. Apology if I said that wrong. As much as I admire Ron Moore as a writer, I have difficulty with how often he uses sexual abuse as a shock tactic and writing tool. It often surfaces in his work, and it just feels like a cheap way to humanize characters through extreme trauma and a shorthand way to demonstrate that the bad guys are bad. Outlander is a prime example of Ron Moore just using sexual assault for the sake of it, but you can see it forming in Battlestar Galactica. Vera also hit the nail on the head for me. How can we humanize the Cylons by making them human, which is either through pain or the ability to reproduce, which is extremely disappointing. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize he was a showrunner on Outlander.
Oh, yeah.
I never watched that one, but my mother did.
Outlander, and then, which is still ongoing, I think. Outlander's still running, weirdly enough.
I thought it ended.
Did it?
I mean, maybe it didn't. I don't know.
I'm actually curious, because it's either still ongoing or it just ended. 7 seasons. No, there's a season 8 coming out in 2026. Still going.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, still on. Yeah. So that, and then For All Mankind, which is another show I really liked, but I also hated its later seasons because it did like capitalism as a necessary evil. So
yeah, I remember you going off on that one.
Yeah. Anyways, so we also got a couple comments that went into our discussion about oxygen, the breathing.
Jesus
thing.
Christ, the debate that will never fucking end.
And
I knew you were gonna pull these comments. God damn.
And you know what? I think most people tend to agree with me, Vera. Yeah, I'm with the first. This is Nizart says, I'm with the first commenter too about the oxygen. The fact that Starbuck and Lee have more conditioning would help them stay conscious longer despite using more oxygen. They are drawing from the same pool of oxygen as the other guy. If they each had individual tanks or suits to breathe from like a scuba diver, then yes, the argument of talking and laughing would stand because they're running out of their individual supply faster, but they're all in the same room. Just saying, I was right. I got a click for that, everybody, in case you didn't know.
You got a click for being a brat about it.
I'm just saying I was right. But speaking of running out of oxygen, we are talking about today's episode of Battlestar Galactica, Resurrection Ship Part 2, because Lee's ability to hold on to oxygen is also a plot point in this episode, Vera. So it was relevant.
And oddly, he has to like do a whole meditative thing almost as if it's not an automatic fucking response.
I'm just saying, if he was Hot Dog, you would have been dead. Hot Dog would have died this episode.
What a loss.
Just pointing it out. So it's relevant. I'm just saying. I was right. It's fine. But yes, we are talking about Resurrection Ship Part 2. So let us get into our recap of the episode. Don't know what this voice is. I'm sorry, everyone. I don't know why I did that. It just, I was trying to like roll my R's and it became like, hello.
you were trying to do a thing that you know
I can't do
for
it.
a fact you cannot do.
Yep.
And that was the result.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah, I cannot do that. Nope.
I know you
Tongue
can't.
is not that talented, unfortunately. All right, we start off with, and I thought it was Baltar at first, but it is Lee.
I did too, because my automatic assumption was that we were in the
Mind Palace.
The Mind Palace.
Yeah.
Because it's got a lake.
Yeah.
So I thought it was Baltar swimming in the lake, and then it would cut to his face, but he's wearing these sunglasses. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Baltar's job. But then it would like go at an angle. I'd be like, wait, am I? It took me way too long to figure out who the fuck this was.
Oh, no, yeah, it took me a minute to, I'm like, oh, that's, like, I literally put in my notes, Baltar and his Mind Palace. Oh, no, wait, it's Lee. So yes, I guess Lee is in his mind quarry.
He doesn't have enough imagination to have a palace.
He just has a mind
Go,
core.
just go to a commonplace.
Here's
A quarry, I guess.
I wonder.
Really, dude? That's the best you got. Okay, fine.
It's also the same. I've seen this quarry a billion times because it's like the same quarry they use for Star. Because they shoot in Vancouver as well. In like, there's not Star Trek. Because that shoots in Toronto. Which also has a quarry that all of those Star Trek shows use. Like, it's the same goddamn quarry they all use. No, this is the one that was used in, like, the Arrowverse shows that sometimes go to a quarry and they would use the same one. So I was like, oh, yeah, I recognize this fucking quarry. Anyways, he's floating around in his quarry, but then he looks up at the sun and he sees a Cylon Raider flying at him, and it's revealed he's floating around in space. So the quarry was just a mind palace metaphor for, running out of air. So
yeah, well, then we get a caption that I fucking hate.
48 hours earlier?
I fucking hate flash forward openings. I really do. They are 99 times out of 100. It is a sign of insecurity in a writer's own work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like they can't trust that the audience will be invested enough. If we actually show that, we have to show them the thing that's like the big thing that we're building to. We have to show them now. It's like, dude, if you actually had to do that, it means you fucked up. Because either your characters aren't compelling enough to get us to the point that you're giving us a quick flash forward for, or nothing fucking happens up until that point. I would argue neither of which is the case here, but clearly you think it's the case because you dropped this fucking nonsense. And it's also going to feed into another thing, which is there is so much emphasis put on this thing and Lee, and I'm going to say right now, I don't fucking understand why.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, I get there's one element of it that I do, but not in any. It doesn't build anything much off of it.
No, like for the and here's the thing, it's actually quite well done.
Oh yeah,
but I wish it was in service of anything.
Yeah, it is very.
It just seems like
there's a couple points. There's like, oh yeah, the visual metaphors of this are really cool. And
yeah, it's really well done. I wish it mattered.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one thing that it's kind of used for, but we'll get there. I also will say, like, I agree, the flash forward stuff doesn't really work. The only time you can make it work in a couple ways. I think the most obvious one is, like, if the flash forward is somehow commentating on the present stuff. Like, if you flash forward and it's like, oh, there's some parallels, or like the present stuff like mirrors the future stuff, or like there's some sort of like juxtaposition happening here. This is just
that can work if you're doing an overall nonlinear thing.
Yes,
that can work because it's your early hint that the structure is off. But when it's just like, oh, we'll just show them something that has no meaning until significantly later in the story. Piss off.
It's just done for a cheap way to hook the audience so they don't leave during the commercial break sort of thing.
Which, like, is also a weird paranoia to have for, like, the mid-season of your second season. Mm-hmm. Like, if people are watching, they're gonna watch, dude, especially since this is a part two.
That was the big one that I was gonna say. It's a part two, like.
Yeah, like, you gave a hook at the end of the previous episode. People are gonna wait around for that hook, which this also has nothing to do with.
Yes, yeah, so, yep. Well, we jump ahead back 48 hours earlier. And we have Lee and Starbuck talking to each other. Lee is sort of questioning if Starbuck's going to, because she has presumably told him about Adama's plan to have her shoot Kane and have Lee back her up. And Lee is sort of very skeptical, like, are you going to do this? She's, yeah, I'm going to do it, and I can use backup, but I understand if you can't. But Lee says, nope, you know better than that. I will definitely back you up. We have trust, your word and my word. If we don't have this, then we're no different than the Cylons. And they hug, because they're friends.
Aww. I wish the show had just, like, done nothing with anybody's romantic tension, because at this point it's, like, all over the fucking place, because these two had romantic tension, and then Apollo had it with D for, like, a hot second, a couple of episodes, and now these two are, like, two dead fish. What the hell's going on?
And there's, like, a hint of the D and Lee stuff in this episode as well.
Like, yeah, just stop.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
None of this is good. Just stop doing it.
Yeah, what are you, Star Trek Strange New Worlds?
Oh, I've started the season.
Oh, yeah. Enjoy. Wait until you get to the line where one of the characters says, don't be like those women. which is an actual line. Huh? I will stay quiet. Yeah.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Stop trying to raise my blood pressure.
We then cut to Hilo and the Chief still in their cell. And then we get asshole men basically showing up, and the guys all like wave their dicks at each other, is what I call it.
Well, it's worth noting we've seen these guys before, because these were the guys like over on the Galactica who were laughing and joking and bragging about how they all got to quote unquote take turns with with Pegasus, and that had clued Hilo and the Chief that they needed to go protect Sharon. So yeah, it's two of those dipshits.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, they do have a little bit of a dick wagging contest with each other, where like they're both at the window, sort of like taking like, "Oh, you call me sir," Hilo says to the guy, and they're angry because he's like, the guy you killed saved 50 of our lives. And then they start talking about heard you got your poles greased by the robot girl. So yeah, and then Hilo and the Chief are like, "All right, well, yeah, you want to bring it in here? We'll beat each other up in here, like men, sort of thing." But when they open up the door, the two Marines who are also there with guns basically hold them at gunpoint and have them get on their knees.
Because of course they do.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I understand it's just a dick wave moment, but like, dude, what do you think was going to happen when you challenged them to a fight? That they were going to come in and be fair?
Yeah, no way. Like,
yeah, it's weird because they do act kind of like, whoa, we didn't realize. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you two?
Well, we cut back after the commercial break, and they're basically torturing them by beating them up with soap and a towel. So they're doing all that stuff. It's like, oh, I'm not going to take it slow anymore. But Fisk comes in and basically yells at them, being like, "Get out of here. Last I checked, they're colonial officers, and you're treating them as Cylons, and charges of assaulting a chief and a lieutenant under our current time of war carries a penalty that is quite severe on the ship." So yeah, he basically tells them off, kicks them out. And then I was also like, I was glad because he also acknowledges the two Marines there. He at least says, "Get out of here." But I was also like, they were also taking part in it too. We're not going to yell at the unnamed Marines that were there.
I mean, like, that they
I
are,
get it. They're not named
treated
characters.
more lightly, which, I mean, fits with the because keep in mind, these two guys who went in and were actually doing the beating were from the ground crew. They're the quote-unquote knuckle draggers, so they are not officers.
Yes.
So it does fit with the general mentality on the Pegasus being actually being in the military makes you better. So while I was a little annoyed that they got off so much lighter, I suppose given the mentality on the ship, that's the best I was going to get.
That's true. That makes sense. Yeah, I didn't even count for that. But yeah, it is one of those, like, they don't really get an acknowledgement. It reads just more like they're the extras in the episode. They're not the named characters. We're not going to deal with it. but it does fit. You're not wrong. So
yeah.
Anyways, the Chief and Hilo thank him, but he says, "I don't want your thanks. I owe Thorn my life," the guy that they killed as well. Hilo stands up, basically throws back like he was trying to rape a prisoner, and Fisk basically argues you can't rape a machine, Lieutenant. So still dehumanizing them.
Well, like, Fisk is an interesting guy. Like, right now,
I find him interesting as a character.
Yeah, right now more than anything, he seems to be clinging on to the rules and his orders because it's all he's got. And like, by the rules, you're not, what the hell are you doing beating up, these people who are in custody, they're officers, what the hell are you doing? But also, by the rules, that's a machine, that's not a person. What are you talking about? And it's not that I think he believes that sincerely. Like, this is his coping mechanism, is latching on to this shit. That and drinking. That is how he's coping with everything going on.
Oh yeah, you can clearly tell he has some level of conscience, but he doesn't have a backbone to like stand up for any of it, really. Especially when it comes to like moments that matter, even though he does wrestle with it as well. Yeah. So it makes him a very interesting character. So yeah. Which
honestly, I'm really glad to see for this actor because most of his filmography is taken up with just scumbags. So I feel like he gets to show a lot more depth here than I've usually seen him get to do.
Yes. No, I think the character's good. So, we then cut to a scene between Kane and Starbuck. Kane offers Starbuck a drink and says, how do you drink? And Starbuck says, only to excess, which I thought was fun. And she says, did you learn that from Ty? And then Kane basically talks about Ty. He's like, I heard you belted him once. Some people get exactly what they deserve. I've read about your XO. He should get popped in the mouth. Maybe he should get popped in the mouth every once in a while. And then Kane starts talking about, like, I know you're close with Adama. I know he's a good man. I know he had to make hard choices. Lord knows I have to. I had to, excuse me. And then Starbuck basically tries to defend Adama, saying he did what he thought he had to do.
Which I noted at this point, like, Starbuck, shut the fuck up, bite your lip, or she's not gonna trust you enough to let her be close to her. Mm-hmm. Like, given what you're gonna have to do later, shut the fuck up.
Yep, you just agree and be like, yeah, you're right, you're great, I love you, yeah. Let's be besties.
Or at the very least, just quietly seethe.
Yes. And she also, like, points out to, like, angrily to Kane, like, you were gonna execute Hilo and the chief. And Kane basically argues back. It's like, I had to watch a lot of kids in body bags. You don't think I understand his feelings towards his men? Some terrible things have to be done. Inevitably, each and every one of us have to commit that horrible sin and flinch for 1 second, let conscience get in the way. And there are more kids in those body bags, more kids floating out that airlock. Which is an interesting one because it's very much, it showcases her mindset, but also it's a, there's clearly Starbuck is thinking about what she's going to be having to do.
Well, yeah, this is the part of the scene I like. Mm-hmm. Because it is, Kane giving, her sort of overall philosophy, but when taking that philosophy and applying it to what Starbuck has been told she's going to have to do, Kane is basically saying to her face, hey, when it comes time to shoot me, you better fucking shoot me. Yeah,
exactly. You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, it also, her philosophy too, of is like, I gotta do the terrible things to save more lives, that utilitarian, like, for the greater good.
The stuff. Greater good.
Yeah. Then she says, I have a lot of faith in you. I want to promise me that when that moment's come, you won't flinch. So, yeah, still.
Hold up. There's a part of that sentence you skipped. Mm-hmm. And it made me want to pull my hair out.
I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I have a lot of faith in you. You know what? I don't know why either. And wow, do I hate that shit. Mm-hmm. Wow, do I hate having a character say something that doesn't make sense for them to say and justifying it by having them stick a, I don't know why I'm saying this either, onto the front of the fucking sentence. Because I'm sorry, it doesn't, based off what has been shown to us about Kane, and given how little time we've had, and again, I'll circle back to something I said last time, this should be happening later. We should have had more time to build a relationship. Then this might have worked. But since they didn't, it's hanging a lampshade on the fact that this sentiment, I have a lot of faith in you, makes no fucking sense for her to be saying to Starbuck.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And it's not even that hard to have done. It could have been like, I see a lot of myself in you. Like, there's a very, like, they have similar vibes. Yeah.
There are other ways you could have gotten something resembling this sentiment, but, like, this line fucking sucks, dude. This is hanging a lampshade on the fact that this shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alas. Well, we get to another scene that I like a hell of a lot more between Adama and Lee. So we get Lee coming over to do a courier run from the Pegasus, and Adama sort of jokes to Adama and says, they got you doing courier runs? Like, no, I volunteered for this one. And Adama sort of, and it should be noted, Adama seemed very pleased to see Lee when he first came in, but when he says that, he's like, oh, are you here to change my mind about the mission? Because he says, Kara told me about her mission. And Lee just says, just wanted to hear from you. And Dama just sort of, decision's been made. His very sort of military, like, I made a decision, you take, like, it comes down from on high sort of thing. But Lee sort of says, assassination, that's your decision? Is that how you resolve differences with your superior officers? And Adama sort of puts up as if you got a like very utilitarian, like practical minds. Like if you got a problem about backing up Starbuck, can you find someone else? He's like, no, it's not about me watching your back. And then Adama goes, I'm not going to debate this with you. I made the hard decision. It was a hard decision. I think the president's right. Best way to safeguard. It's the best way to safeguard the fleet. And I'm like, oh, you're throwing Rosalind under the bus here, Adama. But I get why he does it. But
do you want to talk about what Lee says in response to that, or?
She's made of sterner stuff than give it credit.
No, because that's more of
Adama's line.
Lee has a really weird reaction to this. And it's like, it's kind of subtle because he doesn't say a lot, but the way that it's played is fucking weird. Because the way because like he hears Adama say, you know, the president's right, this is what we need to do. And he kind of has this perk up of like, the president, and like this sort of look of confusion. But because there's no follow-up on it, because like maybe you could do it as a he's surprised it was her suggestion, but the way he plays it in the moment reads much more like, oh, you're just agreeing with this person now? Except he's been on the president's side up to this point. His reaction visually and his facial work is
really weird. I didn't get that read either. I read it as he was surprised that I read it as what you just said, that he was surprised that Rosalind was the one to say it. That was my entire read on that beat.
No, that wasn't what I got. Like it's what I would have liked to have gotten, but it wasn't what I got.
I did not get that. Like the way I read that beat was like Adama saying that because he like it's kind of throwing Rosalind under the bus, but also throwing it out there as a way to say like, this wasn't just me. Here's someone that you may kind of agree with. And that's why like Lee sort of has to process that in the moment of like, oh, Rosalind's also the one who also like justified this as well. So like I didn't read it. It didn't read weird to me.
I don't know. In the moment, it hit me odd. Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. So then Lee sort of backs out and says, all right, this is all I have for you to sign then. Thank you, sir. And so like Lee goes back to rank, like using rank as a signifier of like, okay, we're going to have that relationship. And then as Lee leaves, Adama says, Lieutenant, it was good to see you. So
which was interesting to hear because that's his bump down rank.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I will say, like, outside of the one beat that you kind of threw out there, I really liked this scene, specifically because, like, it is played very low key, and there's this interesting thing of, it kind of, again, speaks to their relationship and, like, how they kind of see things, where, like, Adama starts off this scene being, like, he's happy to see his son, but then he shuts down and sort of goes into that military mindset of like, hey, it's like, nope, decision's been made. You're going to do the thing that I said to do. And if not, I can find someone else to do it. And Lee's trying to talk to him as a dad and like be the moral conscience thing. And then when when Adama sort of throws out that Rosalind was not too, like, oh no, this is a moral decision. Cause like Lee sort of sees Rosalind having a little bit more of a moral center than even the military does. It's just like an institution. Lee's like, oh, maybe I've miscalculated the morality of this and I don't have a moral clock on this. And then he reverts back to just going back to the military with his sir line. And then Adama ends the scene going, no, I love you, as like going back to like recognizing him as a son, even though through the military structure of like using the lieutenant term. So like it was just like an interesting, I thought this was a really, really well written and handled scene on many accounts. I loved the flow of it and all of the beats and like how it showcased their mindset and how they have this really interesting relationship filtered through these institutions.
It's fine. I think the problem for me is twofold. One, we've done this with them before.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue we've done it better in terms of like the ways in which their father-son relationship intermingles with or bounces off of their military relationship. This is not a new beat. But I think ultimately the reason it isn't landing as well for me now as it has in the past is not just that it's kind of a repeated beat, but also I fucking hate Lee at this point. So that like the scene's fine, but like half of the people in these room I can't stand right now.
Yeah, I mean the Lee part understandable. I can get. The other part, I would argue that it works slightly differently for me, because it is kind of underplayed. like before when we'd have these arguments between Lee and Adama, it would be much more antagonistic. And yet this scene isn't played like they're having a conversation, but it never gets to the point of like Lee getting morally righteous at any point. It is more just him like coming in and having like a like low-key conversation about like, hey, what do you like, it's not him getting self-righteous about it, but he is having the conversation from his point of view, which I liked as a sign of maturity on Lee's part, even while he's still standing up for his like viewpoint. He's not coming in here as that petulant child. So like that's why I liked the scene particularly better, because it did showcase to me a growing level of maturity on Lee's part, which we have not seen from him, which I did like. So I thought it was a reiteration of the beats, yes, on the surface, but in terms of like the way these characters handle it, I think is different, which I kind of liked. Long and short, it was my favorite scene of the episode. I particularly like that scene a lot. So
see, my favorite scene of the episode is super fast, but I liked it a lot.
All right. Well, is it this one where we see the prep on the Pegasus for Fisk's team as they about to head to the Pegasus, and then we also see Starbuck prepping to get to go on her mission and sort of thinking about bringing your gun and all of that jazz. And as they pass by each other in the hall, because we see Fisk on his way to the Galactica and Starbuck heading towards getting in her Viper, they pass each other and they say good hunting to each other.
Yes, that is the one. I fucking love that. That was great, especially knowing that these characters don't know what the other one is up to. Like the parallelism of it, and like them having this beat together, having no fucking idea. Oh, that's great. I like that. That's fantastic. I love that beat.
Well, we do have Fisk arriving on the Galactica and talking to Ty, being like, hey, I'm sorry about this. And Ty's like, yeah, sorry about a lot of things. Then Ty sort of says, be sure your Marines and our Marines know their areas of responsibility. Last thing we need is colonials shooting at each other.
Yeah, because something that I'm not sure you noted that you said, but Fisk has shown up with a small Marine team from Pegasus.
his Razors, as they were called. Yeah. Yeah, and so Fisk is sort of like, yeah, I don't want colonials shooting at each other. He doesn't say it like that, but that's the subtext of his vibe.
Yeah.
So, we then cut to Adama looking at his surgery scar in the mirror, and then he calls in Tumor to his. He puts on a shirt. He calls her in later. Is it timed up?
Which speaking as someone who has been helping someone recovering from top surgery, he should still have tape on that thing. That he should not be showing. He should not be like just having to the open air and with cloth directly on it that scar yet, dude.
Yeah,
you're gonna get an infection.
I'm just thinking about Adama getting top surgery. Good for him. Anyways, he has a conversation with Tumor, and he says, I called you here because I want to know. I want to ask you why the Cylons hate us so much. Tumor says, I'm not really sure how to answer that. Hate might not be the right word. And Adama says, I just want to know why. And Tumor says, well, it's what you said at the ceremony back when Galactica was being decommissioned, way back in the miniseries. It sounded like it wasn't the one you prepared. Which also is interesting to note because it also says, it showcases that she remembers that she has those memories. So, like, the memories must have been implanted after the miniseries. Like,
that was the thing that I noted. Like, my takeaway from that is that because, like, we've now established the need for the resurrection ship way out here, but what this means is that before the Galactica was like too far away for the Cylons to sort of reach their standard, I guess that their home planet or whatever the hell that they normally do their uploads to, that like this version of Boomer like got uploaded whatever came from that the one who was already on Galactica, because in theory it like if the memories were never shared across multiple versions, like except for like the re-download into a new body thing, if that was the case, then this one should have basically no knowledge of anything that's happened on the ship since really the start of the miniseries.
Yes.
Because yes, it's not until the show proper that like she shows up on Caprica, but she would have had to have already been there because Galactica's like jumped away and gone. Mm-hmm. So it means that like the information has been downloaded and disseminated at some point along the way. I doubt there's that much meaning and thought put into it. I don't think they thought about the implication of the fact that she remembers the speech. If I'm being honest, because I'm gonna get tiny hint for my overall opinion. My level of expectation for Ronald D. Moore as a writer is steadily fucking dropping.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. We will get there, but it's dropping by a lot. So I'm not really going to be giving him a ton of benefit of the doubt going forward that he's doing shit on purpose or realizes the implication of what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Anyways, yes. So we have her say this, that you said humanity was a flawed creation and people still kill each other for petty jealousy and greed. And you asked why humanity never asked itself why it deserved to survive. Maybe you don't. So,
which as a scene in and of itself, I was like, what was that? It circles back around to later. So like, I get that this is planting something that'll pay off later. So it, in the context of the episode overall, it's fine.
Yeah. I was expecting, I wish we got a little bit more on Cylon's viewpoint there than just regurgitating his speech to him.
Yeah, but the thing is, she's not actually here to give a Cylon viewpoint.
No, I know.
She's here functionally to trigger a thought process in him, which is going to pay off later.
Yes, I agree. But it's what I wanted from the scene.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Missed opportunity. Hold on to that fucking thought.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, I'm trying to clamp it down on this and, like, not go off until an appropriate point, but, like, I'm gonna go off.
Fair enough. We'll get there. We then cut right to the middle of the fight, like jump ahead. The Galactica's firing the base stars. The resurrection ship is in the background. Lee flies in with the stealth Viper and blows up their FTL. But as he's getting away, the Blackbird gets hit and destroyed, but Lee ejects from the ship.
Which they did not get a lot of use out of the Blackbird before they fucking destroyed it.
No, they did not. I was surprised by that as well. I thought I'd been sticking around for a while.
And also, I think this is just my wonky memory, or maybe it was just the fact that in my mind, because she's the one who's piloted it every other time.
You should have been Starbuck, yeah.
Well, in my mind, I thought it was, and like I was super fucking confused because we jump ahead and the fight's already underway, and I thought Lee was like watching Starbuck go in and like he was keeping an eye on her and was like kind of her backup or something. And I thought Starbuck was piloting the Blackbird, so like stuff was going on, and then I see Starbuck like in a pilot seat. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck just happened? And I had to back it up twice before I fully registered that it was Lee piloting the damn thing. And I'm sure it was said. I'm sure if I paid more attention during the recap when they went over the plan in the previous episode, they probably said he was going to pilot it. I get that's on me, but like it still made for awkward viewing for a hot second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't disagree. Well,
and like that was not even a complaint. That's my fault, but I'm just sharing the weirdness.
Mm-hmm. Well, we get Dee telling Adama about Lee's Viper getting blown up, and Adama says, go do search and rescue, see if he ejected, and then Adama goes right back to the mission, which I kind of liked because it's like, it felt like he was compartmentalizing, like, all right, well, I'm not going to worry about that right now, like, maybe he ejected, and I'll deal with that when I get to it.
I mean, that's kind of all he can do at the moment, is hope, because what's he going to do? Cancel the attack?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it. It's just like but I like the beat as a moment.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's well done.
The fleet of Vipers head towards the resurrection ship. We have Fisk taking his post and coming into the CIC, and he's noting all the Marines around that are sort of taking their place because he's sort of like, all right, well, I'm set up here. He kind of nervously like, all right, I guess I can do it if I have to kill all these people. So he's clearly worried about it.
Yep.
And not really wanting to fulfill his orders. We then have Lee floating through space. And we find out that he's losing air through a hole in his suit that occurred there, and he's basically almost out of air, so he's sitting there watching the battle from a distance.
Yeah, and this is where we start to get intercuts with, he's floating in the ejector seat, he's floating on his back in the quarry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which, again, really well done. It's just kind of there. Yeah. It's just a thing the episode does.
Yes. Yeah, I think the only thing it does, and it kind of comes up when he says, like, sorry. Oh, I'll say it in a second. We see the base stars getting destroyed. And then we cut to Baltar and Pegasus. I'll use that because it's more fun. And this also gets weird, too, because now we have Head 6 sort of saying, like, he's kind of angry at Baltar and Pegasus, being like, tens of thousands of Cylons are dying. God won't forgive this.
Which, like, the main reason this is weird is we had a weird lull in the middle where, like, she was all self-righteous and up in arms, like, I think, like, at the start of the previous episode, or at the very least in the episode Pegasus, like 2 episodes ago, she was all really pissed off. And then, like, we saw her in the Mind Palace and she was weirdly calm and, like, all cute and sexy with him. And now she's back to pissed again. And it's like, get off the roller coaster.
Yeah, she's all over the place. And then Baltar, ignoring Head 6, but kind of responding to her in a weird way, talks to Pegasus, says, do you think God will forgive us? And Pegasus says, God forgives everyone.
Oh, I see. This is the other bit I fucking love. Because he doesn't ask that question unprompted, because 6 is yelling at him.
Yes.
Head 6 is yelling at him very specifically about how many Cylons are going to die and how angry God's going to be at him for this. And his response is to ask the real version, or a real version, of 6 in front of him, will God forgive us? And the answer he gets is God forgives all, which I love because it serves as such a sharp reminder that no matter how evocative this thing in his head is of 6, she's not really connected to the Cylons. And she may or may not be somehow connected to God or theology. I don't fucking know. But she's not a Cylon, which means that he can find out what a real version of her actually fucking thinks. And I love the way he does it. And I love the way it immediately challenges and weakens Head 6 and her hold over him as a result. It's almost like he's splashing cold water on his own face and going, I don't have to take your word on this now.
Yeah. And then Head 6 also throws back after, Pegasus says, God forgives all. Do you think this broken woman can do half of what I can for you? I can help you finish your destiny, basically going on her whole spiel. And Baltar says, you're going to laugh at this. And he basically retells the same exact story that Head 6 said about sports. Like, I went into sports, but he reframes it as himself. And he says that to Pegasus. And 6 is really pissed off. It's like, don't do it. But when Pegasus hears this, she says, that's beautiful.
Which is also interesting because it means that to whatever degree he has, like, I'm just going to assume she's completely a fabrication of him. I understand and accept maybe there's something else going on. I don't know what it is, so I'm not dealing with it. So from the perspective of her being a construction within his own head, he does understand her enough that this story that he told himself through her has some resonance for the real version, even as he is deconstructing the things that she is shouting in his head. It is interesting that it affirms that she is not exactly like an actual 6, but also that she has granted him insight into them all the same. It's a really interesting balancing. And this is the kind of balancing and mixing and, like, I'm not sure which it is, which actually fucking works for me as opposed to the nonsense the show was doing before. And I think a big part of the reason why it works is I'm seeing that contradiction confronted directly instead of being dropped in front of me in this, well, I don't know, you figure it out kind of way. It feels like they're actually building something with the contradiction and with the jumble and the mix and the ways in which things maybe don't fit together but still also kind of do. This is now actually building narrative out of it instead of just pointing at it and going,
Yeah. Very much so. Well, we then have D. And I should say after Pegasus says that's beautiful, Head 6 disappears. So she's gone. We then have D trying to contact Apollo from the CIC, but Lee is not responding for some reason. And then this is where we get him saying, he cuts back and forth between him and the quarry. He says, "I'm sorry, Kara." And we see the resurrection ship blow up in the distance, and then Lee slips underwater in the quarry, in his mind quarry. And
Interesting note about the resurrection ship blowing up. The camera doesn't linger on it super long, but it does linger just enough to see that, like, sort of the outer glass on this ship shatters, and bodies start flying out, and then it erupts into flame and fire, and everything gets burned up. It was interesting that they made a point to show, like, whether you think the Cylons count as people or not, that's a whole lot of very human-looking bodies.
That you're killing. Yep. But right when Lee slips underwater, a raptor shows up and saves him.
Naturally.
Yes, of course. I will say I did like the visual, being like, oh, he's run out of air, he slips underwater. I thought that was cool.
Again, it's
good,
really
well
good.
Done. Yeah, just wish it was in services, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I wish it meant a goddamn thing.
The only thing, and this is what I've been alluding to, the only thing that it does do narratively is it sets up, and because he says, "I'm sorry, Kara," is that he is not going to be there to back up Starbuck if she has to shoot Kane. She's not going to have anyone there. So it does that. It didn't need to be this whole fucking poetic.
Yeah, that's the thing. That doing that doesn't benefit from like this whole artistic going into his own headspace thing, which again is very well done. I just like, could it be for something?
Yes. Well, we cut to the Pegasus crew cell.
Weird, and I'm not just saying this because I kind of hate Lee. I kind of wish that he died because, then this would feel justified if he died. This would be a really kind of cool, artful contrast. So rather than just having him float away in space, he's also at the same time drowning in a far more familiar environment that audiences would recognize and give a much greater tangibility rather than the abstract notion of him, being free floating in space. That would have worked, but of course he doesn't. So what the hell?
Yeah. Well, we cut to the Pegasus crew celebrating. Pegasus realizes with Baltar that the resurrection ship is destroyed. Again, we have Fisk is kind of stressed out and watching his Marines waiting for the call from Kane. Then Pegasus says, "Send my soul to God, please." There's that cut to that. We haven't gotten to the escape yet, but she says that. We then have Starbuck going up to the bridge of the Pegasus. Jesus Christ. And so she's sweating bullets.
I just want to say, the tension in the lead up to this is really well built. I felt tense watching this.
Yes.
The buildup is really good.
Yes. She is sweating bullets. Pegasus, Jesus Christ. Kane.
I have
getting everything.
Fucked your brain forever.
Yes, you have.
And I'm so happy.
Kane says to her, "I'm so proud of you." We Ty then we cutting back and forth. Ty over on the Galactica says to Fisk, "Glad we didn't need your Marines today." But then Kane gets on the line for Fisk.
Initially
for Adama, yes.
Yes, initially it's just a back and forth between Fisk and Adama, the normal sort of
tense
politeness that's been going on between them.
Mm-hmm. But then Adama asks for Starbuck. He says, "Starbuck with you?" Starbuck picks up the phone, and again, tense moment because we think Adama's going to give her the order to shoot Kane. And he says, "I've been thinking about what we talked about before. It's not enough to survive. One has to be worthy of surviving. That's all." So he does not give the order.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing we were talking about with the stuff with Tumor. That was the setup for his change of mind here.
Yes.
So, which I'll talk about later because there's a juxtaposing scene that I want to talk about it with later on. But then we cut to Starbuck saying, "I think that's very wise, sir. Thank you." Then Kane asks for her XO for Fisk, and I was like, I love that this is weirdly awkwardly obvious that like now that it's like, oh, your plan's not going like it's just one of those like wait, because there's like long pauses where everyone's talking on the phone to like Starbuck and then to Fisk. I don't know, it's just one of those like. Wait, maybe I was wondering if Adama or Kane were like at any point being like, wait, are they gonna do the same thing that I was gonna do? You know what I mean? It was like weird in that regard.
Let me put it this way: if they had established and made that clear, it would make what's about to happen better.
Yes, because Kane asked for Fisk, and there's this long awkward moment where it says, "Congratulations, Jack." That's all. And then, because like Fisk also is getting stressed out. And so Kane also didn't decide to do the order to kill Adama. And then Ty and Fisk sort of Ty looks at Fisk after they hang up and he says, "You look like you could use a drink." And Fisk just starts laughing.
Which I appreciate this from him because he is laughing in the exact same way that a couple episodes, like he was like, "Oh, no, I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you," when he told Ty about
shooting the
Kane having shot the previous XO. Like it's the exact same laugh. It's actually a really great pull and a really great acting choice. So I'm gonna go off now. Bullshit. Bullshit. Okay. I'm going to preface all this by saying I accept that it is distinctly possible that stuff that we will see with Kane later in things like Razor might backfill enough about her character so that this decision that she makes sense. I don't care, because for what we have seen of this character so far, regardless of anything she has said, we know that she has willingly taken the action to gun down fucking civilians simply because she wanted a better tech on her crew. That she makes the decision, no, I won't kill this guy who could theoretically challenge my authority and be a problem for me. Bull fucking shit. But it's not just that it's out of character. It is out of character. Fuck that. But it's not just that it is out of character. The far bigger problem is that Ronald D. Moore, you are a fucking coward. You are a fucking coward, and I am going to say that because it circles back to shit I have said since way early in the series. You had the opportunity to do something really interesting, and repeatedly, this is like the third or fourth fucking time you have chickened out. You teased something really dramatic and really interesting or really complicated, and you fucking simplify the shit out of it. I don't have a problem with Adama making the choice because we know Adama and we understand why he makes that choice. But if you're going to set up a situation with stakes this high, whatever choice that he makes should have fucking consequences. And guess what? It doesn't, because she suddenly decides, oh, I won't do it either. Fuck off. God damn it, man.
Yeah, and it makes like the point that the episode tries to make later on weird too. I agree with everything you're saying. Like, I'm not going to add anymore because I was going to say if you didn't. But yeah, it also makes it muddles the point later on too that I think this episode's trying to make, but is not well established and makes the read on this episode weird to me in a way I really don't like. So we'll get there in a second.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the other thing I was going to say. And just to touch on this possibility, because again, I don't know how deep the fucking God fucking themes are going to be later on. So if this is meant to like be a hint or be interpreted as like, oh, but he's being rewarded by making the correct moral choice. You know, this whole thing with Toomer sort of bringing up like, you know, you ask a question like does the human race even deserve to keep existing? You know, should the gods let us keep going on? Like, oh, but he's being rewarded for making the correct moral choice. Okay, that's just a literal Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
So even if you do that and you try and retroactively make it thematic, if that shit becomes bigger, I still don't care. Because it's the hand of the author and it fucking sucks.
Yeah, I wouldn't extend it that far. I don't think that'll be directly.
I'm just covering my bases because long story short, I don't want to hear any excuses for this. This is bullshit, and I want no devil's advocated for.
I'm not gonna even have devil's advocate for this one. I agree, and I went back and I went and looked at it. A lot of fans also dislike this arc for a lot of these same reasons. Like, this was a known dislike in the fandom. Like,
Good.
there were people that praised Michelle Forbes in her performance as Kane because she's great as Kane. But yes, there's a lot of criticisms of this storyline for exactly the same reason of like, oh, you tease this interesting status quo change and then you chicken out of it pretty much immediately. Like, there is some status quo change in the fact that like the Pegasus sticks around, but like in terms of like a big power status quo change or big shifts in things, no. So.
Yeah, and like, look, you don't have to shake things up. I don't have a problem with you keeping things relatively the same, but don't tease me with something interesting and then go, oh no, don't worry about it. Like, that's always my thing with shit like this. If you don't have the balls to have consequences, then don't do the setup. I've yelled at Russell T Davies for this exact same fucking thing in so many of his finales on Doctor Who. I think the big one that I usually point to is from series 3, where like you have the Master take over the world, decimate the population, and then you just roll the entire thing back so only a handful of people even remember that it happened. If you aren't willing to have consequences, don't go that big. Just don't. If you're just gonna make it so it didn't matter, don't tease me with interesting shit.
All I will say is this is partially why I like seasons 3 and 4 of this show better, and that's all I will say on that point.
Honestly, I kind of needed to hear that because, like, look.
If you want big status quo changes and things that actually don't back away from interesting choices, yes, season 3 I think is better.
I will look forward to that because I got to be honest with you. This is the kind of episode that would make me leave a show. Not like immediately in like a rage quit way, but more in a, I don't need to make this a top priority way. And then, you know, I start watching something else and then I realize I haven't kept going for like a month and then realize, oh, I guess I don't really miss it. In that kind of way. It's having that kind of impact on me. It's the same thing the second season premiere of Mandalorian did to me. I'm like, I actually don't care. Like, this is not me saying I don't want to still do the rest of the podcast, but I'm like, if I was watching completely on my own, this is the kind of episode that would make me fall off a show.
Yeah, I get you. I will say I do. Well, again, we'll see if it holds up in memory, but there is some stuff that I remember being like, okay, they do not back away from that. So I do at least appreciate that. We'll see how well it goes, though. But I do distinctly remember as a kid liking season 3 and 4 better, which is which most of the fandom generally tends to seem to disagree. They seem to like seasons 1 and 2 the most, but I remember liking seasons 3 and 4 the most. So maybe young me had more discerning tastes, or maybe I'll realize that young me was actually dumber than I thought. We'll find out together.
We shall see.
We will find out. But anyways, Baltar then helps Pegasus escape. They sort of, like, he asks a guard to come in and help, but then, she kills him. And then she gives Baltar the gun and puts it to her head and says, shoot me. But Baltar ultimately refuses. And she says, suicide is a sin, but I need to die, so he has to be the one to shoot her. And he says, no, what you need is justice. And he says, I know a place where you can stay where I can look after you. And she asks, why would you do that? And he says, because I love you.
Which, again, I don't believe him, but I believe that he believes it.
Yes, exactly. He doesn't know this version of 6 enough, but he's projecting all of his shit from the other 6 onto her.
Yes.
And also the sort of like, oh, I protected this. It's like a male savior stuff. This is like male savior stuff that I kind of think works better than the sort of like, yeah, we're going to beat up, like, because it's more complicated in a way that's like not these guys going to beat these fucking rapists, sort of male power fantasy kind of way. This is more like the show knows it's kind of complicated, which I at least appreciate. Like, it's a male power fantasy for Baltar, but I don't think the show is playing up the male power fantasy of it for its own, like, audience voyeurism, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
And I also do appreciate, just because we had a conversation about it earlier, and because other shows did not do this so well recently, I will at least point out the fact, too, that we had this whole conversation about the whole, like, oh, she needs to die because she's so broken sort of thing. I do at least like this being like, oh, him saying what you need is justice kind of counteracts the points. Like, maybe she feels that way, but at the very least, the show is not on the thing of, like, she's so broken that she fundamentally can't be fixed.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Because it is a difficult mentality to tackle at all, to be honest. But one way to try and approach it is for is to have the show or the movie or whatever it is not necessarily validate that, so that it becomes a character's position and not a narrative position. Because where it's really kind of unforgivable, the whole broken people would be better off dead thing, is when it comes across as the position of the narrative as a whole. That's where it's completely fucked. It can still be dodgy, even when it's just a character who feels that way about themselves, but that is at least more navigable.
Yes, very much so. I think the show does better than other shows recently did. I talked about that last week. Let's see. Then we cut to Kane decompressing after the attack in her office, but then Pegasus shows up, and she's... Yes.
So here's one thing I'm going to note. I really liked the fact that during the opening credits, because they used the little snippets from the upcoming episode, they had a shot of what looked like, came from back with a gun pointed at her, and there was blonde hair, and it's real quick, and it's quick enough that your assumption is that it was Starbuck. And then we get here, and it's like, oh no, that is a completely different blonde woman pointing a gun at her. That was actually kind of clever, that misdirect.
Yes, no, it's good. But yes, she says, "Tell me, Admiral, can you roll over?" Beg, referring to when Kane kicked her just a little while ago in last episode. Kane just says, "Frak you," and she says, "You're not my type."
And this was, even though I said it already, this was the point in my notes that I wrote down, fucking coward.
Yeah,
because not only are you not going to have consequences from Adama's decision to not follow through, and again, he can make that decision. There should be consequences to it. But now you're also going to completely remove the problem and by a method that requires no future tension between any of the existing characters. This is such bullshit. Overly clean. It's the kind of overly clean writing. Okay, while I will stand by Ronald Moore, you're a fucking coward, what I'm about to say, I do not necessarily think is true of him. However, the feeling I get from this is the kind of feeling I get from writers who their writing is so neatly wrapped up and clean in a way that they're so fucking proud of it. It's like, oh, and look, I tied it up with a neat bow. It's like, your bow is fucking boring. Anybody could have tied that bow.
Then everything is wrapped up in a neat little package.
Give me a messy knot that takes forever to untangle. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, it's my problem with this season of Stranger Two Worlds in a lot of ways, because it does it with the franchise, where it goes like, ooh, remember this thing? Guess that was actually a cue. It's one of those like exercises in world building that's like less like, oh, these two things were actually the same thing all along, rather than just keeping it open-ended and making it interesting that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like, oh, you think you're being clever by tying these knots, but actually you're making it way less interesting.
Yeah, this is the resolution to basically fucking everything that's been going on that leaves the fewest ripples and the fewest disturbed, patches of ground. Like, I'm mixing my metaphors and I don't fucking care. I'm angry. Like, this is the resolution that leaves the least lasting impact overall, which makes me wonder, what the fuck was the point of the last 3 episodes? Like, well, there are two lasting impacts so far as I can tell. There's another ship, and there's an actual 6 that Baltar is taking care of, either of which could have been accomplished in other ways. The entire storyline with Kane, fucking nothing.
And I don't disagree. What pisses me off more is what we're gonna get to with this next bit. So this is the part that got me.
Is this the funeral?
Yes.
Oh, fucking A, man.
Well, I have things that I want to go off about it, so you can do
You
it.
have this one.
No.
I've gone off plenty.
Okay. Well, Fisk gives his funeral speech for Kane. She died knowing her ship was safe, her mission was safe, and her crew was safe. Nothing was more important to her than her ship, her command, and her mission. I plan to take on her role and uphold her values, whatever. And so then Starbuck gives a speech, and I wrote it down. I only knew Kane for a short time, so what I have to say about her will be short. She faced things. She looked them right in the eye and didn't flinch. That's something we do a lot around here. We second guess. We worry. When I think about what she did, what she went through after the attack, one ship, no help, no hope. She didn't give up. She didn't worry. She didn't second guess. She acted. She did what she thought needed to be done, she needed something in the Pegasus to survive. She did what she thought she needed to do to survive. The word survive being an important thing there. Might be hard to admit or hard to hear. I think we were safer with her than we are without. Okay. So my big thing with this is I feel what they were trying to fucking say with this is that actually Starbuck is wrong here because we have two conflicting ideologies being brought up here where Starbuck is saying we need to do what we need to do to survive. That, like, we shouldn't second guess things. We should just act for action's sake, which, by the way, is a fascist ideology. Literally, Umberto Eco wrote in, How to Define Fascism, that fascism likes action for action's sake. It doesn't like you thinking about it. It just likes you to be the cult of the hero, just die on the sword for fascism and for the state. That's the mindset of what fascism does. And it's a very similar thing, too, that Pegasus says here. It's don't question things. Just do what I say because I am the authoritarian. And also, I don't think second guess things because I'm the strong person. I just act for action's sake. So, what Starbuck is here saying is a very problematic fucking ideology, but Starbuck is saying it, and we've shown that she had some level of affinity for Kane last episode. So there's something being said here, I think very interestingly, that it's at least trying to say about hey, we need to, Starbuck's discussing this, but I think she's saying it's wrong because she's saying we need to, she did what she had to make the Pegasus survive, whereas Adama, clearly, if we're using that word survive as a point of contact, where he says sometimes it's not enough to survive. So his whole argument is no, we need to be better. We need to actually have something that we are fighting for, not just action for action's sake. We need to be we actually have to have meaning and intent behind what we do, which I actually think is the correct ideology. And I believe in that, that we need to have, yes, we should fight back against fascists and all that jazz, but there are ways that we how we think about things and what we fight for matters. It very much matters. So those two conflicting ideologies coming up against each other are actually really interesting to me. And the fact they're giving it to Starbuck is also really interesting to me. But the episode does not make either of that really clear, and it gets even more fucking muddled because Kane backs away from having done the killing of Adama thing. It really should have been that she was gonna fucking do it because she is the one who is wrong. And so having this whole thing of she backs away from it makes her much more relatable, and it I don't really love the whole fact that the show has played her as ooh, she's the evil villain. The part of it that I found interesting was she was humanizing her. They were humanizing her at certain points. But if you're going to have her be the fucking, oh, I'm the evil villain who's going to do the evil villain things, then you should have her be that way all the way fucking through. But the fact that she backs away from it at the end kind of undercuts this whole idea. It undercuts this whole fucking thought process of she's the fascist, authoritarian, military-minded, however you want to code it, what ideology you want to talk about it through. But it undercuts that, and she died because she didn't do that decision in a few ways. Not directly, but you know what I mean? And so I just it just gets so fucking muddled, and it kind of pisses me off because it's you waffled on this idea at the end in a way that you could have actually carried through, even through all the problems I've had this being an easy status quo thing. All you had to fucking do was be she was going to order it, but somehow Pegasus killed her before that point. She kills her before she gives the fucking order. And it would still be she was going to give the order, but she was fucking wrong. But then you could still have this whole Starbuck, oh, she believes in that ideology and Starbucks becoming problematic sort of thing. But here it just gets all sorts of fucking muddled. In a way yeah.
I might have to by default defer to you on this because shit that happens later and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But within the confines of this episode, since I don't know what happens with Starbuck later, maybe what you're saying is validated by your future knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But within the confines of this episode, I was not convinced the episode believes Starbuck is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Which speaks to how fucking muddled this is.
That's my point, yes.
Yeah. And you might have enough context for shit that happens later that you can confidently say that. But speaking as someone who doesn't, I cannot say with any degree of confidence that the show thinks that Starbuck's position at this fucking funeral is wrong.
That's my problem. That's my exact problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the episode's making that good point, especially since like we're supposed to like Adama and Adama made that decision. But like the episode fucking muddles it and then makes it unclear because it's like, oh, Adama should have fucking died for his choice. So you're not entirely sure. Like it's just very fucking weird and it doesn't make it clear and ends up being this thing that gives support, maybe intentionally, we don't really know, to a ideology that is inherently fascist in what it's saying. Like down to like she didn't think she acted, which is literally action for action's sake is like the definition of fucking fascism.
Yeah. And like it doesn't
and again it's military, you can militarism, you can ascribe it to many different ideologies.
Like honestly, the big hang up for me, and like I cannot at this moment in time remember if Starbuck knew that Kane ordered the murder of civilians. I know Adama knows. I know Rosalind knows.
I don't think she does.
I don't think she does. But the problem is, especially when you're dealing with stuff airing a week later, audiences don't always remember who does and doesn't know what. And so unless you come in confidently remembering that she doesn't know that makes this worse. Because it's like, you're just going to gloss over the shit she did. Mm-hmm. And again, as a character, Starbuck might not know that, but the audience does. Mm-hmm. And you're having a character that the story is not going to point out whether or not she knows this. And I don't think she does. But the audience knows this, and you're going to have the ending beat be a character we are meant to relate to saying she wasn't that bad. Fuck off. Mm-hmm. Fuck off. She murdered civilians. Just because we didn't see it because it was backstory doesn't mean it doesn't fucking count.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I really fucking I don't hate the idea of the speech, but I really fucking hate that the show does not make it clear. Like, again, I don't need the episode to have like a moral arbiter. I don't need it to have God literally come down and be like, this was the right fucking decision. But like some level of like philosophical point. Like the episode is so fucking muddled that I don't know what the episode was trying to say. And ultimately
like my literal note for the scene is, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, this episode fucking sucks because it's like, I don't know what the fuck happened here. In terms of like I get the plot beats, but like it just says something so fucking muddled and ends up could be being able to be read in a very problematic fucking way that pisses me off. So yeah, from what I can tell, it's an interesting look on this episode. Well, I'll get to it later on. We get to Starbuck going to see Lee after this, and this lends to my credence of I think like what the episode's saying is trying to say what I think it's trying to say, which is that like you can't just survive, because Lee here is talking to Starbuck and says, it turns out I didn't need you anyways. We both came back. It's all fine. And Lee says, that's it. That's just it, Kara. I didn't want to make it back alive. And Dee overhears this as well. So we see that.
Yeah. Which is also was so fucking weird because like, they established that Dee over here is like listening in on them. And I thought what was going to happen was they were going to drop the fact that Starbuck was supposed to kill her, and like that was going to make Dee really in future really uncertain about like Adama's mindset or anything else, and like that was going to be a thing. But no, that doesn't come up. So what the fuck is she doing here?
Oh, you'll find out.
Don't fucking. They're gonna build on that fucking bullshit. Where the fuck did that come from? Fucking moment between her and Lee, aren't they?
I'm not saying anything.
God fucking damn it.
What I will say, I won't speak on that. What I will say is like, this again gives credence to like, I think what this episode is trying to say is like, you need to have more than just survive, because I think what Lee's going through here is after that scene with Adama. And again, this is kind of why I actually like Lee's trajectory through this episode, despite the weird poetic thing that seemed unnecessary, is this idea that like he's kind of lost his sense of like self after that moment with like, oh, Rosalind's the morals, like saying this is okay. I thought I was supposed to be this like moral arbiter of like, this is the right thing to do. And now I've kind of lost that sense of self. And so now he kind of doesn't really have anything that he's living for, because he doesn't have that sort of guiding star anymore. And so now he kind of is a little bit depressed and suicidal to a degree. Like, not overtly, I'm going to put a gun in my mouth, but like, I don't really want to live anymore. Yes. Death wish.
Like in that, if I die, I die.
Exactly.
Mode.
Which then goes into that whole point of it's not enough to just survive. So, which is as a theme, like you need to have more than just survival. You need to be like living for something, which goes into the theme. And I like that as an idea, as like a point that this episode's trying to make. It's just unfucking clear. But this scene is what gets me to the point of like, I think that's what this episode's trying to say. So I am less angry at it in a like, oh, they're trying to say the fascist thing. It's more angry at it being like, oh, you said the fascist thing and weren't clear enough that, no, this is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, we then have Toomer and being seen by Hilo and the chief. Hilo goes up to her and, you know, she's very happy that he's alive. You know, so where do we go from here? She says. The chief leaves without saying anything to her, so we get the idea that he's kind of letting her go, like he talked about last episode.
Oh, how noble.
Yes.
Fuck
right.
off, dude.
Yep.
Fuck off with this fucking two guys both think they have a claim to a woman bullshit. God damn it.
Yeah, yep. Well, we then cut to a scene with Billy, Adama, and Rosalind, our final scene of the episode. We sort of get a logistical... Vera's taking off her glasses. Oh, she's so frustrated. Anyways, we get a logistical answer of like why Pegasus isn't caught, because there's so much chaos on the Pegasus that she got away. So we know Pegasus is somewhere out in the fleet. Rosalind is happy that Adama didn't have to do what she advised. Thank the gods. Again, sort of being like, I'm glad you didn't have to do the interesting plot choice.
Yeah.
Thank the gods.
Sure, I'm glad that you didn't have to do the thing and that there were no consequences whatsoever. Ain't that lovely? How convenient.
Cut to everyone laughing on the bridge as the credits roll.
Yeah, on a freeze frame. They might as well have. That's about how morally complicated that fucking plot turned out to be.
Anyways, Rosalind says, says, I feel like I could sleep for about a year, but you, however, do not have the luxury because you have a new job. Billy, she asks for Billy, and Billy brings out, this like case of, said it took me forever to find the jeweler. And Rosalind says, rumor has it that I know very little about military protocol, but someone who commands more than one ship is called an admiral. And so she gives him the promotion to Admiral Adama. Which he thanks her for, and he thanks Billy. And he says, I never gave up hope on getting these. I just stopped trying to get these a long time ago. Again, this whole idea, and which I will note before we get into the thing that I know you're going to be pissed at. Everything to this point I actually like. And this point of never giving up hope is, again, another point to the thing of this episode of saying there needs to be more than just survival. You should have hope. You should have everything they're going for. So, again, I'm just putting it in the point column of there were themes here. They weren't well done, but there were themes.
I will note that they have so few ideas of what to do with Billy at this point. He's basically just handing over a jewelry box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. But then after that never give up hope line, they stand up and there's a...
Hold on. So they stand up and there is a shot of the two of them in profile facing each other. And I wrote down, if he fucking kisses her...
And he does. Vera's just showing me her notebook where she just wrote, "Oh, come on!" in that voice.
All caps! Yeah. All caps, 3 exclamation points, taking up 3 rows of my fucking notebook. Come on!
Mm-hmm.
The fuck?
I heard your voice as soon as the scene happened.
Oh, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? What? Straight men, you can't run shows anymore. You're not allowed. No, I'm issuing a blanket ban of cis straight men running shows anymore. You had a good run, fucking stop. You're not allowed to be in charge anymore. God damn it.
Yeah.
And I fucking knew the instant that camera was looking at them in profile on the side and like,
oh yeah,
they were just a little bit apart, like, fucking no. God. I hate this so fucking much. And it speaks to such lack of creativity that you can't think of how a man and woman could relate now that they are no longer at odds and they have faith in each other and are working well together. You cannot imagine that being anything other than oh, well, we should have them kiss. How fucking unimaginative are you that it is either they are trying to completely delegitimize each other or they go kissy. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, it's
I will finish this series. This is what I will cite whenever I say I have no interest in watching another show that Ronald D. Moore show ran.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking ever.
Yep. It sucks. So yeah, let me do a spoiler minute and then we'll talk about the episode overall. So I'm going to talk spoilers for the next 60 seconds. So if you all out there do not want spoilers yourself, you can jump off or skip ahead 60 seconds from now. Just as Vera's going to do by giving me 60 seconds on the clock in real time.
And go.
So the big thing for me that I just wanted to allude to, I'll just talk about it, is the whole thing at the end of season 3 or end of season 2, I should say, where they blow it up everything and they not blow up everything. Pegasus blows up whatever the one ship and then they get to New Caprica, and that is a big status quo change that does stick around for a while. It does go back to a status quo a few episodes later, but I am going to be curious to see how Vera takes that, because it is at least a decent status quo change. It does shake things up for a good amount of time. For the most part. So I think that is at least like the show getting better. It goes into why, like, personally, I have always liked season 3 and 4 better. We'll see if that lands. We'll see if I'm just, like, again, younger me was dumb, but I remember as a kid particularly not loving, like, season 1 and 2 I enjoyed, and then season 3 and 4 I enjoyed a hell of a lot more. So, and Elsevier is just downing a bottle of beer as I'm talking right now. So yeah, we'll get there when we get there. We'll see how season 3 goes. But I am with Vera that I'm, not doing great. So, all right. Overall thoughts on the episode.
This fucking sucked, man. Yeah. This fucking sucked. Not each individual scene or part, but collectively as an episode, this is the worst fucking episode of this show.
I do not disagree. I will give it the one asterisk of I did not hate the Baltar Pegasus stuff. I thought that was okay. I thought that was handled pretty well. And shocker of shocks, the Lee stuff in this episode, the weird, like, isolated, the poetic weird stuff with him dying was good on its own, sans context. In context, it makes no sense. And also, his actual scenes throughout this episode were actually pretty good. So I, like, weirdly enough, the Lee stuff worked for me, both some of it in context and some of it in its own terms. Everything else, though, fucking sucks.
It's so bad, man.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not even that it is necessarily the episode that is, like, had the most bad in it or that it's completely irredeemable, but, like, what it indicates for the mentality of the show as a whole and the people running it is the kind of thing that wrecks my faith in a show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like a Star Trek Strange New World Season 3 situation. Yeah. Sorry, I keep shitting on that show, but this season is depressed. This season has depressed me. Anyways.
I may have caught that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, watching this, it's weird. Because, again, this is one of those things where, like, I'm hoping maybe younger me had a more discerning taste, because I remember younger being like, I don't remember liking these episodes that much. I remember liking Michelle Forbes because I like Michelle Forbes, but I don't remember liking these episodes that much because I felt like, and I do remember specifically being like, oh, she died so quick, and I would have liked her to stick around because it was interesting. Like, I distinctly remember that. And there's this interesting thing in the fandom of like, oh, everyone loves season 2. These episodes are sometimes considered really well loved, and then I've also found like a certain level of fandom that have very similar to opinions to us. So when I did some research on this to see if my memory of it was weird, but I always remember being like, I don't love these episodes, but everyone in the fandom did love it, so I like, maybe I'm just out on it. But then I'm like, this gives me more hope for later on in the series where I'm like, oh, there are things later on in the series that I really, really love. That I'm like, okay, so I remember not liking these episodes. Turns out I don't like them still today. So maybe that bodes well for later on in the series. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, like, not that this is the best metric in the world, but it doesn't look, but I'm on IMDb right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this does not look like a show that has been either loved or hate bombed.
Mm-hmm.
So going by the individual episode ratings, for the episodes this season, these are the 3, and this is by IMDb user reviews, these are the 3 best rated episodes of the season.
Interesting.
Pegasus is rated the highest, this the second highest, and the Resurrection Ship Part 1 the third highest.
Interesting.
And I'm just backing up real quick. Higher rated than anything in season 1 except for the last episode. And don't worry, I'm not reading the descriptions. I'm just checking these things. I'm going ahead to season 3 real quick. There are 2 episodes in season 3 that have actually higher ratings than this. And then season 4 looks like there are 4 that have ratings this high or higher.
Okay, so see that actually kind of bodes out with what I'm saying, because like there's more.
But it is a little concerning in terms of the fandom response that this run of three episodes, and like I'll give a pass to Pegasus as an episode, which was two episodes ago, being so highly rated because that was the one that made all the promises in terms of like, ooh, the shakeup, ooh, the new thing. And like, but this is where nearly every promise gets broken. So I don't understand how this is highly rated because this is shit.
Yeah, I think everyone loved Michelle Forbes is part of it. All the Trekkies loved Michelle Forbes.
I get that. I have favorite actors too. Sometimes your favorite actors are in shit.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I do not disagree. It is not good. Yeah.
I will legitimately be very curious when we watch Razor. I will be very curious to see if they try and do things with her character that would retroactively justify her not having issued the order.
We'll see. I don't remember. It might.
Because like, I was thinking in my mind, like, this is completely unjustified based on what we know about her. But knowing that Razor is a prequel, specifically about the Pegasus, there was stuff like, and I don't know if this will be the case, but in my mind, I was like, okay, if there's a scene in that where, like, she issues the order to kill the civilian families, like, in a moment of anger or panic, and then once away from the eyes of her crew, she kind of, like, has a little breakdown in private. That is the kind of thing that could justify a decision like this to back down. It still wouldn't fix the problem because it would be a retcon and it would be a retroactive fix. But I will be curious to see if they try and do anything like that would justify why she does not issue the order in this.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree on that front. We'll see. I need to, there's some stuff I do remember about that movie, but I don't remember all of it, so we'll see. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm more, it's interesting to me because we've had this conversation numerous times already throughout this where I'm like, man, I remember loving this show, but my estimation of the show really just has gone down as we've rewatched it. Like, not to the point of like, it's utter trash, but like, it certainly has gone down from like, oh, it's one of my favorite science fiction shows that I remember to, it's fine.
Yeah.
And But like again, well, I just want to make the point. Like, but again, the stuff I remember loving, we have not gotten to. Like, legitimately, and again, maybe he will turn out to. Sorry, I've been hiding this person's gender. There's a character coming up now. You know, it's a guy.
Heaven forbid! I know that it's a guy.
Yeah, whatever.
It's not like most of the cast is guys.
Yeah. This show does a decent job of having good.
Yeah, no, it's more mixed than a lot of stuff, but like still.
Yeah. But like, there is a specific character that is coming up that I remember. Like the show does some problematic stuff with that character, but I also remember just loving as a character and was one of my favorite characters in sci-fi. Again, we'll see if that holds up, but like, we have not met this character yet. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's some redeeming factors, but like episodes like this, I'm like, man, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe this was just a bad choice to watch. I don't know.
I mean, we'll see. Like, here's my frustration with the show right now, and I'll make it in comparison to the other shows that we've done for this podcast up to this point. Like, Farscape almost never let an opportunity to do something interesting pass it by. In fact, it would take trite scenarios that you think you've seen a million times and find a way to do something interesting with it. And then you had Babylon 5, which on occasion I felt like it would miss the opportunity to do something interesting, but nearly every time it did that, it took things in a different direction that was interesting that wouldn't have been compatible with what I thought of as a missed opportunity. So it would still find some way to do something interesting, even if it wasn't sort of the things that maybe I always wanted to do. The Prisoner arguably took too many big swings and was too interesting.
God, I love The Prisoner so much. God.
But this, especially after the buildup of all the interesting things that could have happened, just feels so cowardly and trite and generic compared to the shows that we've done so far, at least at this point in the show. Because this was it setting up its biggest like hard twist, and then just like fucking nothing, man. But I am crossing my fingers that your younger self had taste.
We'll see. Again, who knows? The younger self had weird stuff going on.
I mean, didn't we all?
Yeah. So we'll find out. Like I said, there is a specific character and some plot beats that I do remember being like really, really loving. And they're not too far off in the future of this show. So we'll get there. So yeah, still have to get through some of the rest of this season though. But that's everything I have to say. Anything else, Vera?
No, I think we've said enough.
Well, with that, I hope it's time for stuff.
You can find my stuff by looking for Council of Geeks. Patreon pays the bills. The main thing that funds is the Council of Geeks YouTube channel. It has unfortunately not been fun topics lately. Hopefully, the week after this comes out, I'll finally have gotten to a fun topic that I'm actually really excited to talk about, and will tank, I'm sure. But like, hopefully the week after this comes out, if I haven't had to change my schedule, I'm going to talk about how Hollywood has been approaching movie musicals and the one major mess up they keep making. Because I was really fascinating to think about, and I'm really excited to talk about my thoughts on that. So hopefully that'll be the next video coming out from when you hear this. Or more shit went bad and it's something else. But there's that. There's also the Break Room of Geeks, which I am trying to catch up on Star Trek Strange New Worlds on. I'm going to try and watch Alien Earth, and I'm going to try to watch Peacemaker. I don't know how timely I'll be with any of those. I'm already well behind on Star Trek, but I'm going to try and cover those things, plus whatever else I have watched, listened to, read, or played lately. You can also find Council of Geeks on Blue Sky. That is the geeky stuff. There is also the spicy stuff. For that, you look for Vera Wild. And you can find increasingly spicy content on YouTube, TikTok.
You can find me at Jesse Gender on YouTube.com, where I do video essays type stuff. most likely out soon, if not already out, will be a video on why tech billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos love Star Trek. So be on the lookout for that video in the near future. I am also on Just Gender After Dark, where I do news, reviews, reactions. I am currently reviewing Strange New Worlds, if you want my thoughts on that. Peacemaker, as well as Alien Earth. I am also on Blue Sky, which is where I do most of my social media stuff, a little bit on Instagram. I am also on Patreon, helps me pay my bills. So if you want to support me, go over there to do that. And I am also on Nebula, which is the streaming service that has my movies Identities, as well as the upcoming show Subliminal that'll be out next year, for which I directed an episode of. So, huzzah!
Yay!
Anything else, Vera?
Nah.
Alrighty then. With all that said, I hope y'all live long and prosper.
Be seeing you.